Yeah, how do you rank against the shrimp? And you're going to lose every time. So this little 5-ounce animal has a punching power of like 1,200 pounds per square inch. And so, I mean, a professional boxer can only punch about 800 pounds per square inch. The average human being is lucky to get 100 pounds per square inch. And so we've built this contraption where you can compare your punch with that of a mantis shrimp, and it'll register your pounds per square inch. It should be a lot of fun.
Hey there, podcast aquanauts. It's your host, Casey here. Here at the aquarium, things are always changing. We're constantly adding new animals to exhibits or even building entirely new habitats for you to see during your visit. But big changes, like an entirely new gallery, those need a little bit more time to cook. The opening of the Ridges to Rivers Gallery took place almost exactly 3 years ago in March 2023. In a little over 2 weeks at the time of recording, though, we'll be celebrating the grand opening of our newest addition, the Scuttlebutt Reef Gallery. This exciting collection of exhibits will take the place of our much-loved, if a little long-in-the-tooth, Boneless Beauties Gallery and the Ocean Journey building. In this episode, we'll take a bird's-eye view of this new space, from what exactly a scuttlebutt is to the incredible species you'll soon be able to see there, from glow-in-the-dark sharks and power-punching shrimp to enormous sea slugs and fish that can walk on the bottom of the ocean. The launch of a new gallery is always an exciting time at the aquarium, and this one has all of us working behind the scenes, practically buzzing with anticipation for the grand opening on March 7th, 2026. But that's enough for me. You're here for all the scuttlebutt on the new gallery, so let's get to it, shall we? On with the podcast. Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Podcast Aquatic, the official podcast of the Tennessee Aquarium. It is a really exciting day and time here at the aquarium because this has not happened for a couple of years, but we are closing in on the opening of a brand new gallery at the aquarium, which the last time that happened was before this show ever even got started. Back in 2023, we opened our Ridges to Rivers Gallery in the River Journey building, and we are about to open Scuttlebutt Reef, which is, I've wanted to talk about it for months and months. We have been aware of it and planning about it and discussing it internally for just what feels like forever. And now is finally the time to pull back the curtain and really dig deep and give you some previews about what you're going to be experiencing in this new space and some of the thought process that went into the concepting and ultimately the build out of this collection of exhibits that'll be opening on March 7th. And to do that, I've invited in our Chief Husbandry and Exhibits Officer, Tom Demas. And Tom, you've been on a bazillion times at this point, but thank you for coming back.
Good morning. Thanks. Happy to be here.
And next to you is Jeff Worley. Jeff, you have also been on many times, and you are our Director of Exhibit Services. Is that right?
That's correct.
I finally got it right. I'm going to get it wrong in the next episode, which has already been recorded, where we talk about one of the exhibits that's in this new space, but I'm getting it right here. So. And then finally, we've got Cheryl Crossley. Cheryl, you are the lead aquarist for the Ocean Journey building, which is the building in which this new space will be opening. And what exactly is a lead aquarist? You were on the podcast last time, and I don't know that we talked about this, but you were talking about invasive species, and I don't know that we dug into what your responsibilities are, but what does a lead aquarist do?
So it's a brand new position at the aquarium, and we're I think it's evolving in real time. But it's kind of one step up from being a senior aquarist, which I was a senior aquarist for about 20 years. And it's kind of halfway between aquarist and a supervisory role. So I can help my supervisors. They can delegate stuff to me that they may not want to delegate to a senior aquarist or a second aquarist. And then I also get like a little bit of management or experience. So.
Okay, and you, in addition to that responsibility, you have a pretty important role, or played a pretty important role in the kind of getting off the ground with this idea. So we were talking about this before the mic started going, because I wasn't even aware of this really, but what was your involvement in the planning process for this and kind of getting the idea crystallized for what Scuttlebutt Reef is going to be?
So I think really, really early on when we know that we're going to be doing a gallery renovation and we're looking for ideas about what we want to do with that space when we turn it over, it's like the brainstorming period where it's like, what do you want to see in this gallery, or what can we do? Like Tom always says, dream big. Like, what do you want? And I think I submitted 3 different ideas. And Scuttlebutt Reef ended up being kind of a mashup of 2 of those ideas.
What were those two ideas?
So one, in my presentation, I think I called it Wet Weirdos. And it was
Why didn't we go with that as the gallery name?
because
Well,
we love alliteration.
There's always working titles that evolve into something more appropriate.
I like wet weirdos. Anyway, go
I
ahead.
mean, we had Boneless Beauties, so I was kind of trying to play with the theme there.
Sure.
But it was the smaller exhibits, like what Scuttlebutt Reef is kind of going to be, and focusing on animals with like really cool adaptations and stuff like that. And then I think Scuttlebutt Reef was playing off of, we have Secret Reef, and so Secrets and Rumors was kind of my idea coming up with that name. And that was going to be animals that we would like to have in our big Secret Reef tank, but they're just not compatible or they don't do well in that space for one reason or another. Yeah. And so kind of setting aside a space to add those complementary tanks to the Secret Reef.
Oh, that's cool. So the Secret Reef, if you've not been here before, or if you haven't listened to one of the previous episodes where I talk about this, is 618,000 gallons. It's the largest exhibit, single habitat here at the aquarium. And it's interesting that you say that this is kind of a companion piece because in that space, with that much volume of water, it's very hard to focus on one animal, especially if it's a smaller animal, because they would just get lost. I mean, I think we've put lobsters in there before, and I've been told that they went in there and never, ever saw them, despite sending and camping out and kind of looking for them. So it makes sense to me that we would have a gallery that kind of pulls some of those animals that would otherwise be in there out, so to really kind of showcase them in a way that you can actually appreciate them. So that's interesting. Okay, so Scuttlebutt Reef. Jeff, you and your team have presented a lot of internal kind of presentations on what this gallery will be. So I'm going to kind of look to you and throw to you. Give us kind of an overview of what this gallery is going to be and what animals people are going to be able to see and kind of what the different exhibits are going to look like and kind of the experience that people are going to have.
Okay. Well, when Cheryl came to Exhibit Steering with this idea, Exhibit Steering just fell in love with the concept. And we thought it was a really cool idea to create a fictitious place called Scuttlebutt Reef, where we could showcase animals that, just like you said, you wouldn't normally see in a big tank like our large Gulf tank. And so, and then to focus on animals that have really cool adaptations and interesting features and characteristics, we just thought this was a great idea. So we've got 11 new exhibits, and it's got a couple anchor exhibits, but one of them is our green moray eel, which will be showcased in the center of the gallery, and it's going to be amazing.
Kind of the first thing you see as you walk in, right?
First thing you see, and it's got a beautiful coral reef decor, and then around that is built around the outside perimeter of the gallery. We're going to have animals like frogfish and lumpsuckers. The lumpsucker exhibit has a piling with barnacles attached to it, and Cheryl knows more about lumpsuckers than I do.
Somebody needs to say what a lumpsucker looks like. Give us a word picture, because I mean, when I hear lumpsucker, I know what immediately pops into my head, and it kind of looks like the animal does.
So lumpsucker is a very appropriate name for them. They're very round-bodied. They're covered in spikes. They have big eyes and kind of cheeks that you want to squeeze, and then they have their pelvic fins are fused into a disc that they can use to attach to rocks or surfaces, because they're normally in like a high current kind of space.
They kind of suction down.
Yeah. They're not great swimmers. They kind of shimmy along and they suction onto stuff. And
a fish that shimmies.
Adorable is the key word.
They kind of look like an extra from like a Star Wars movie, like something you'd see in the background of like one of the planets that they visit or something.
It is.
An ocean oddity or a wet weirdo, appropriate.
Exactly.
Then we're going to, we had a living reef exhibit that was small, but it was absolutely beautiful. So we didn't want to get rid of that. So we decided we were just going to make it big. So we went at least 3 times bigger.
It's actually 5 times bigger, I think.
Is it?
Okay. there will be spoilers in this. That there's the next episode of the show next week will focus in on this exact exhibit. So I don't want to spoil too much about it. But
Okay. So, but it's going to be beautiful with living corals and all kinds of fishes. And we've built in a wheelchair accessible portion of this exhibit. So it's kind of like a pop-up, but you don't have to crawl in. You can, it just immerses you in the experience. Then we've got a couple other small exhibits that are really cool. Peacock mantis shrimp, which are pounders, and there's a whole story behind those guys.
when you say pounders, we should probably explain. You're talking about how they can kind of capture prey. It's one of the things that they can punch,
That's
more
true.
or less.
Yeah, there's generally two types of mantis shrimp. There's slashers and pounders,
I can't believe this is true. This is actually what they call them. But
or clubbers. You can call them clubbers. But it all has to do with the formation of their, I'm going to forget the technical term, but their front appendages that they would use to be either defending themselves or catching prey.
they're pounders, I think, is what they're called, or so I'm told.
But they're amazingly beautiful. I mean, the colors are incredible, and they're small. So, we couldn't put them in a big exhibit, but this will really focus. We call them jewel tanks because they're just amazing to see these little animals. The next exhibit is, I think, it's animals.
Defenders of the Reef. I think.
Defenders of the Reef, animals that have, specialized defenses and venom or spikes and things like that. And
So what kind of species are we talking about in those?
Cheryl?
So in the Defenders of the Reef tank, we're going to have some diadema urchins, some razorfish in there, dwarf lionfish, and soapfish, which get their name because they have a really bad tasting slime coat on them. So that's their way of defending themselves.
Then beyond that, we've got an interesting shaped exhibit with garden eels, and they are amazing. And they live in the sand, and they poke their heads up, and they wave around in the current. And it should be really cool with some soft corals, living soft corals in that exhibit. Beyond that, we've got a really cool idea for the swell shark exhibit. And many people don't realize that some animals in the ocean biofluoresce.
That's right.
Tom, you want to explain what biofluoresce is?
Yeah, so basically, certain wavelengths of light strike an object, and it fluoresces like a fluorescent light. It kind of lights up. And these animals are pretty amazing. The interesting thing is the portions of them that biofluoresce to our eyes don't really show very well, but the sharks have kind of a lens on their eye that has a yellow tint to it. And so we've got these sliders that you can slide to look through. And when you do, and you see the shark, they light up. And they live in deep water. And if people remember physics class, I guess, when you were talking about light penetration, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, the violet, the blues and the violets are the last ones that get filtered out of the water as you go down. Those are the wavelengths that energize these cells on the shark and cause them to fluoresce. So it's thought that because they have these, amberish colored lenses, it's a way they can identify each other in the deep water without being seen by the other animals. But I don't know that we really know for sure why they do it, but that's one hypothesis.
Yeah, and this is one of those things. I'm going to try and remember to link to a video from our socials from a few years ago, because we've had these animals off exhibit in the past in kind of holding areas. And Kyle, who is our lead aquarist in charge of life support systems, has worked with them before. He'll be the one talking about the living coral exhibit next week. But yeah, it's really cool when you see them. In the past, it's been difficult because I had to put my camera up next to a pair of yellow tinted sunglasses basically and shoot through that. And they really do just light up. They completely transform. And so it's interesting to think that now there's going to be this much easier way for guests to experience what for me was literally just this juggling act of trying to hold a camera and a pair of sunglasses and practically dropping thousands of dollars of AV equipment into some water. So I'm excited for them to be able to experience that without all that hassle. Jeff, can carry on.
Well, there's only 2 exhibits left, and that's the sea hares and then pajama squid.
And comb jellies.
Comb jellies.
That's right. Yeah, comb jellies.
We can't leave jellies out. I mean, that's like Cheryl's bread and butter.
And comb jellies are amazing because they light up with just these spectacular little colors and things. I love them.
So that's a difference between, we've already talked about biofluorescence, and people have probably heard of bioluminescence. This is neither of those things. This is biorefraction. Is that right?
Yeah, this is refraction. Comb jellies do bioluminesce, but they usually lose it after they've been in captivity for a while. It's like a symbiotic thing. But what visitors will see when they see this exhibit is they have these little paddles called teens on them, and the teens are like little prisms. And so as the light from the exhibit hits those and they're moving them, it's like it creates this really cool rainbow.
It's very cool. It looks like, if you've seen, this is going to date me, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the kind of like lights that light up on the ship at the end of that movie, spoilers. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that when they really start going. They just like change color almost just, it's magical almost to look at.
Yeah, it is.
How are you, so Jeff, when you're designing an exhibit like that, when something like light is so important to showing off this part of their natural history, what are you thinking about and planning in terms of making sure that guests can see something like biorefraction like reliably?
Well, these exhibits are in a darker area of the gallery, so that will help. We've got experience with some of these animals in the past, so we kind of know what to expect and how to do it. We've been experimenting in our quarantine room with these swell sharks and the special lighting that it takes to see them do their glowing thing.
Yeah.
And so, it's just kind of research and development stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. Because the swell sharks, it's almost like is it a black light or something that I remember it being very blue.
Yeah, I think it is.
You're getting into that blue spectrum. So it's a very blue light. It would be like if you were in the deep ocean. The deeper you go, the bluer it gets. And so basically the general idea, there's two of those exhibits right next to each other. The initial idea was one under daylight to see what they look like, and then one under nightlight to see what they look like. We also recognize these exhibits could cause people to stop for a little bit. So we have the ability to put them both under nightlight or both under daylight. And for animal welfare, we'll have to alternate the light that they're under. They can't be under nightlight all the time and then no light. So we'll work on altering their lighting to make sure they're getting the appropriate amount of light like any animal would. But their day and night could be backwards.
Jeff, there are a couple other elements of the gallery that I want to touch on before we move on to kind of talking about the planning process for this. And that's there are interactive elements that I think we didn't touch on. So one of them is we mentioned the peacock mantis shrimp having a really powerful punch.
Yes.
And you can kind of measure yourself up against that, right?
Yes, you can. How do you rank against the shrimp? And you're going to lose every time. So this little 5-ounce animal has a punching power of like 1,200 pounds per square inch. And so, I mean, a professional boxer can only punch about 800 pounds per square inch. The average human being is lucky to get 100 pounds per square inch. And so we've built this contraption where you can compare your punch with that of a mantis shrimp. And it'll register your pounds per square inch. So it should be a lot of fun. And
there's padding around it, right? So you can't like break your fist. Hopefully.
No, you can't break your fist. Yes, there's padding. I hope it survives, but we're going to start with it. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
And then you're aspiring to be a shrimp, just for the record.
And it's going to be very emasculating for some people because, like you said, they're really just not going to measure up.
They're not. And It's interesting, but it's food for thought. I mean, it really makes you think, gosh, this animal is really special, and he has got an amazing ability to catch his food.
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to have other interactives, touch screens that are just for like toddler age kids. We've got like 5 or 6 of them scattered throughout the gallery. It's just fun stuff for little kids to play with.
Yeah, and the actual experience you have with the gallery, how this is going to like work its way into your visit to the aquarium, kind of begins before you even get to the gallery itself. Because as you're winding through the Ocean Journey building, you're kind of making this downward path. You go up an escalator to start, and then you kind of work your way down around the Secret Reef exhibit. And as you're descending towards this gallery, that's when you start to see some other elements of this, and that there's going to be some projection stuff at work. So can you talk a little bit about that?
That is true. And even before the projection, we're going to introduce people to the concept of the various kinds of reefs with a hands-on touch exhibit that talks about 5 different reefs: artificial reefs, coral reefs, rocky reefs, bivalve reefs, and with new graphics. So that'll all be new. Then as you work your way down the ramp, we've got a really large video projection with a beautiful animation of underwater animals that live in the Gulf. And it's really amazing to see the size of this thing. I want to say is 70 feet long-ish, by 15 feet tall, 20, something like that.
Yeah.
And it creates this beautiful underwater scene. It's very serene with the animals that are swimming through it.
Very immersive, too.
Yeah, yes. And then as you're working down the ramp, you'll see a big projected logo for Scuttlebutt Reef, and
You'll know you're there.
you'll know you're there. Yep.
Okay. So having listened to Jeff go through this laundry list of all these animals, and we've kind of touched on like deviating to focus in on one or the other. Tom, as you hear this collection of animals, what are you excited about? I mean, because you've been here working with animals. You and Jeff have been here. Well, I guess all of you have been here more than 20 years. So as you think about this group of animals kind of in whole, what are you most excited about?
Well, I got to be honest. This whole thing was Cheryl's brainchild, and we merged 2 of her ideas. And obviously, when you do something like this, as you go through developing it, there are some minor changes. But this was her baby, and the animals are fantastic. But rather than get into what I love about the animals, what I'm going to tell you is that what they are providing for us to communicate to our guests is what I'm really excited about. We're going to have an opportunity here not only to talk about special adaptations and, camouflage and ways to predate and all that, but we're also going to be able to talk about artificial reefs and the things we can do to improve the environment, and hopefully connect people to the fact that what we do makes a difference. And I think we're going to be able to present some of that in real fashion where you can actually see it. And the message, I think, is really clear and simple. And another thing that I'm really excited about is we're testing out in this gallery new graphics. They're not static. They're on a touch screen video with an attract screen, and then you get to select whether it's in English or Spanish. And as we do research, we may decide to add other languages, but we're greatly improving the access and maintaining the integrity of the information, which, as everybody knows, if you look at a sign and there's a million words on it, you don't even read it. So,
as someone who writes for a living, that makes my heart hurt, but yes.
I know, but it's true, right? Especially when you're walking through a facility, you need short bites. And so we're able to have these beautiful graphics and the short bites and hopefully attract the people to read them and see some great things, and they can push a button and switch language if it's in the wrong language. And I'm really excited about how this concept is going to allow us to convey these really important messages, I think, to everybody who comes through.
Yeah, I was going to talk about accessibility later, but now makes as much sense as any to touch on that, because accessibility, it feels like, especially in the last few years, and it probably existed before that, but it's become more and more front of mind, I think, for a lot of us, or at least I'm more aware of it, that we consider things like that roll-in that you mentioned incorporated into the live coral exhibit that lets people who maybe have some different mobility challenges that they're living with, that lets them experience this exhibit in a way that is especially focused on them, and making sure that we are having an experience that is enjoyable by as broad an audience as possible. What you mentioned earlier with the language obviously is another facet of that. Mm-hmm. So Jeff, when you're thinking through planning on an exhibit, you and Tom talk about this a little bit, I think, in our episode where we really zoom in on exhibit design, and go back and listen to that in our archives. But when you're thinking about an exhibit or a gallery like Scuttlebutt, how early does accessibility come into play in that planning process?
I think it from the very beginning, we're always thinking about, what is our guest, experience going to be like? And then we really try to think out of the box and include everybody. And, not everybody experiences an aquarium visit the same way, but we want to make it as enjoyable for as many people as we can. And so, having the wheelchair accessible view into the tank, the touch screens that are bilingual, we've got touch corals on the visitor side so people can feel the textures of the corals and see the different shapes and really, get hands-on. The touch screens for the toddlers. I mean, these are kids that, these are children that may not appreciate the big shark, and they probably do, but
Everybody loves a shark.
everybody loves a shark, but they're not going to read the graphics, of course, but they can play in a porthole and pop some bubbles or make some fish swim in different directions or color a frogfish. And it just introduces them to just interesting animals and hopefully they get an appreciation for the natural world.
Running through the list of species that are going to be on exhibit, I mean, a lot of those adaptations are so interesting. And I'm curious, since you had this original idea, Cheryl, how close we're about 3 weeks out from opening the gallery. How close have we come to whatever your ambitions were when you first approached with the idea for Wet Weirdos and what we're getting now?
I think pretty close. I think there's definitely animals that I was really excited about including in here, and they're in the gallery. And there's, I can't remember what my original Wet Weirdo list was, but I feel like it's at least at 75% represented in this gallery. So
what was like a fist pump moment for you? You're like, yes, we got it. We got this one that I really was hoping we were going to get.
I think there's two. So for a really, really long time, I've wanted to exhibit pajama squid or bobtail squid because they're just these they're dumpling squid is the group that they belong to.
They look like they're wearing striped pants.
Yeah, basically. Super cute. But they never worked in our other gallery because the tanks were just too big. They only get about an inch or two in size. They like to kind of bury down. They're more nocturnal, so they're not super active like some of the bigger cuttlefish are. And so they just didn't make a good exhibit animal previously, but now we have this like specially built tank for them with a special bottom that's going to let them feel safe, but also like they're not going to bury completely and they'll be visible. So I'm excited to be able to show those guys off. And then another animal that I'm excited about is our sea hares.
Yeah, we never talked about with that. What is a sea hare?
Oh, so a sea hare belongs to the mollusk family, so they're distantly related to octopus and stuff and snails and things like that, but they have no external shell and they're basically like a big sea slug. The ones that we have eat only macroalgae. They can get up to be about a kilogram in size, so about the size of a small bread loaf.
I did not realize they were that big.
Yeah, this species can get that big.
Wow.
We have the California sea hare. And the individuals that we get are actually raised at the University of Miami. They have their genus name is Aplysia, and it's called the Aplysia Resource Center or something like that. And they're raised and scientists will use them for research in neuroscience all over the world. So I'm excited to show these guys off. I think they have a great story. They're adorable. They poop a lot. But
what does sea hare poop look like?
Like rabbit poop, but smaller.
Fitting, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, let me jump in and say one thing. Cheryl presented 3 ideas. Wet Weirdos, I don't remember the third one, but the other one was called Scuttlebutt Reef.
Yeah.
So the name was from her, and there's a whole lot more that goes into the name than so far has met the eye.
I thought there was no way they would accept Scuttlebutt Reef as a name for an actual gallery.
Well, let's take a trip down vocabulary lane because internally, at least, we all now know exactly what scuttlebutt is because it's come up in every single presentation I feel like that you've done, Jeff, to kind of give us all an update on where we stand with the construction and design process. But what is, for people who are listening to this podcast, what is scuttlebutt?
Well, a scuttlebutt, the word originated as a freshwater vessel that was used on sailing ships, and sailors would gather around the scuttlebutt and they would get their fresh drinking water. And so
Kind of a barrel, I guess.
kind of a big barrel. Yep. And what they would do is they would exchange tall tales and rumors and gossip. And that's the original water cooler talk. So when people say, well, what's the scuttlebutt? You know, that's what they're talking about. These stories, these tall tales that it originated with sailors on these sailing vessels.
As a fan of etymology, and I am, both entomology and etymology, so the history of words, that has always been one of my favorite things about this concept, in that I think it is going to give people a new word to throw out that maybe either they've used before and didn't know the history of, or just an entirely new word for them. So interesting that you homed in on that. So how did scuttlebutt land on your radar?
So for me, it was the idea of complementing the secret reef. So I was thinking secrets and rumors, secret reef, Scuttlebutt Reef is kind of where I came from. And I didn't think that they would accept the name Scuttlebutt Reef as the actual title to the gallery.
Why not? Like, it's just too weird, or?
Because it has butt in it.
Oh, but.
It's my favorite part about the whole thing.
I feel like Tom, at least, would probably be on board with that.
Yeah, no, look, when people come through and look at the digital graphics, they will be offered a tall tale, and then they will be able to learn the truth. And it's literally scuttlebutt or water cooler talk in action, and it's so much fun and makes conveying a message. I think it's a message that's fun to convey. It's information that's interesting, and I think it'll stick.
So an example of that would be, and I know this because I've had to look at all these signs and edit them, but the rumor might be, I heard that there was a fish that could walk on the bottom of the sea. And that would be where you talk about like the lump sucker, right?
Mm-hmm. Or the frogfish.
Or frogfish.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of what you'll see is that what did you call it? What kind of graphic was it?
An attract screen.
Attract screen, yes. So that's like the attract screen, right? Is the rumor?
Yes. Like for the bad reputation, that's the green moray eels. I heard that green moray eels are vicious. Yeah, I can't even remember.
Yeah, I heard that moray eels are menacing sea serpents that lurk in the shadows of the reef.
Yeah.
Right. And so we know that's not true. Green moray eels, they have terrible eyesight. They look vicious, and I guess that's where the rumor comes from. But
and stay tuned, because not next week, but 2 weeks from now, we'll do another deep dive into, this is all scuttlebutt for the next few weeks, guys. So just stay tuned. But we'll do one where we compare what are called true eels versus what I'm calling fake eels, which would be, some examples would be like our electric eel and our fire eel and river journey are fake eels. They are eels in name only. They are not true eels, but we have 2 true eels in this new gallery, and that we'll have morays and garden eels, both of which are actual eels. The Tennessee Aquarium's podcast Aquatic is made possible by support from the Tennessee Conservationist, the official magazine of Tennessee State Parks. Each issue is filled with fascinating stories about Tennessee's native species, rich history, and unique culture. It's also your guide to exploring state parks and planning your next outdoor adventure. Subscribe today at tnconservationist.org. So this gallery, again, replaces Boneless Beauties. That's a gallery that opened when Ocean Journey opened. It was in operation from 2005 until, I guess, September of last year. So 20 years, that's a long time for a gallery. That means it probably has lots of people who are going to miss it. Obviously, Cheryl, you worked in it for the entirety of that time. How long have you been here?
For most of it. I came on when Ocean Journey was under construction. So
Okay.
I've been here, I think, almost 21 and a half years.
Crazy. That's a long time. Anyway, so people have had a lot of time to build an attachment to that gallery, including people internally as well as externally. So you have all gone through this. We've all gone through this where an exhibit has to go away. That's just the reality of being in an aquarium. We're not a zoo. We don't have 100 acres, 200 acres to work with where we can just carve out space for a new gallery. We have to work within a very limited footprint, which means that stuff has to sunset and new stuff takes its place. As you think about that, like, when Boneless went away, was that hard for any of you to kind of say goodbye to it? I mean, everything we talked about has been very exciting, but naturally when a gallery goes away, that means that there's going to be some loss.
Well, for me, I got 4 words, long in the tooth. Boneless Beauties needed to be changed. I'm very happy to see that happen. Don't misunderstand me. We loved the reef exhibit so much, we're doing it bigger.
The live coral one.
The live coral, yeah. Sorry, yeah. And make no mistake, animals in there that are good. Well, the pajama squid, or an animal that Cheryl worked with and actually had on display there at one point. So I think the animals that are striking, while they may not be here today, I wouldn't be surprised to see them come back. For me, the real challenge is now we've got all new galleries. I think Island Life was 2018, and it's still in great shape, and people still love it, and we still love it, and it's still a great story. So now the question becomes, what do we have to rip out now to do the next gallery? Or maybe we could do it differently. Maybe there's another place we have that we could put a new gallery. So those are kind of some of the things we have to think about and figure out, because you're exactly right. These galleries are fun, but we only have so much space. We took out Boneless Beauties, and just folks will understand this. When you went through there, it was a little tight. There was room for our guests to go through, but if you think about other things you might do in the space, it was tight. And trust me, the backup spaces were super tight.
They were.
This new gallery that they've designed, Cheryl's concept and Jeff's design, we've got much larger backup spaces that are going to afford us to do some of the work back there that we need to do. And there is way more floor space. I swear it's like someone put it in a shoe stretcher and made the room bigger. I don't know how Jeff did it.
It does seem larger.
That's all design, and that's Jeff and his team.
Well, and Jeff, I guess where I'm going with this is that when you design something, like you're creatively invested in it, and it can be easy when you've put some of yourself into something creatively, when that thing has to go away. Is that difficult for you to see something that you did spend months of your time planning and kind of seeing through this concept phase into an actual experienceable space, to see that go away?
Not really. I get excited about the new, and
you move on.
Yeah, I move on. And there's some animals that, I hate to see them, take a pause, for a while. Some animals we just don't want to do that to. The giant Pacific octopus was so amazing that we made a new home for him in the Island Life Gallery.
That's right. It moved last year.
Yeah, we didn't want to lose that. And but I get excited with doing something new and different and a new project.
Yeah, there's always new things to get excited about. And that's one of the cool things about coming back to the aquarium, is that it could be 6 months between visits, a year between visits, and you could have a completely different experience than you had your last time, even though it's the same footprint. Like, it's not like a zoo where, again, you have like an entire wing that gets added. You can see the same building from the outside, but the inside is just full of these new experiences to have, which is really exciting. All right. So when did we actually start planning out Scuttlebutt Reef? I keep saying this has been a long process. When did you first make your presentation, Cheryl? It feels like years ago at this point. Gosh. It has to have been.
It was at least 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, I can't really remember. It's been a little bit of a blur.
So where are you at mentally now that we're so close to the finish line from this years-long process?
I think there's a lot of excitement in the beginning where it's like, okay, they like your idea. We're going to move forward with this. And we're brainstorming and we're planning, and Jeff is throwing out ideas, and we're kind of fine-tuning what things are going to look like and what species are going to be there. And then there's a little bit of a calm before the storm where, we're speccing out tanks and we want this tank to be this size and this type of life support and stuff. And that's kind of like the boring part, I guess. But now we're in this home stretch where it's like we're putting substrate into tanks and pulling decor and setting them up and starting to water test exhibits. And the animals are all here and they've been here for a while and they're all getting through quarantine. And it's like almost time for them to for everybody else to see them.
Everybody's buzzing.
And we're really busy trying to get it all done in time.
Yes.
I thought your answer was going to be, what was I thinking?
Yeah, it is really hectic right now. I mean, it always is in the lead up to a gallery, and it almost feels like an impossible mountain to climb every single time, and yet somehow it works out. I don't know how you managed to make it happen. Those of you who are taking care of the animals and putting it all together, and we're over in our department trying to promote it and talk. I mean, I've had conversations with Jeff months in advance before the old exhibit's even gone, having to say, I have to write this story about this new gallery as if it's here. And you have to walk me through and kind of paint a word picture for me. But it always feels insurmountable, and yet somehow it's surmountable.
Well, it takes everybody, and it's a huge team from many different departments that come together and make something like this happen.
Sure.
And it's not just one department. It takes everybody. And that's one of the great things about working at the Tennessee Aquarium, because everybody gets excited and they get behind a new project, and they all have their own roles and we all work together. And I think we end up with just a really great end product.
Yeah, it feels very communal for sure.
It has to be. And Cheryl and her folks now are they're the ones under the gun now, because the day of recording this, we're exactly 2.5 weeks from opening. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's go time, and we got to be prepared, because there's always an issue. So good planning, being prepared, plan B, whatever, we'll get there, and I'm confident. I just hope it's not too stressful on everybody. But that's how it is, right? You build something new, the last thing is always the animals.
Yeah.
Right? The husbandry folks always get, if there's going to be a squeeze, it's worse on them, because when something gets pushed back, this opening date doesn't change. So it's the time they have to get ready that gets compressed.
Yeah. I mean, literally later this afternoon, I'm going over to do a final interview for a behind-the-scenes making of for the live coral exhibit that we've been talking about. And I remember just being so excited to see, you mentioned the water test, and now there's water in that exhibit, and there's sand at the bottom, there's substrate, and next week they're going to start putting coral in.
Yeah.
And that's just it just feels almost like an impossible realization of this dream, because we've been talking about this for so long. It's been so hard in this show, because so many things could potentially have strayed into the topic of Scuttlebutt, and I've had to force myself to steer the conversation away from it, because it just wasn't time to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it too soon. And now it's time to talk about it. And I'm just so excited that we're almost to the point where people are going to be able to walk through this gallery and experience it for themselves, including those of us who have been working in the middle of this construction site for months. It's hard. I don't know how you all do this, that you seem to have some sort of professional skill at being able to hold tight to that vision for what it's ultimately going to look like, when to me it feels impossible sometimes to mentally remove all the dust and the equipment and the just signs half on the wall, half off the wall, and there's acrylic that's covered up with styrofoam to protect it, and I don't know how you maintain the vision for what this is ultimately going to look like.
Spreadsheets.
I can't look at a spreadsheet and see a final product. Again, that's a special skill. I don't know how you guys do it. It's got to be difficult.
I can see it. I that's one thing. I don't know if I'm blessed or cursed with it, but I can see it in my head. And
magic eye puzzle.
Yeah. And I'm not the one really doing the work. It's these guys. But I can see it in my head. And for me, walking through there, even when it was stud walls, it's wow, I can finally really see it. And at the end of the day, I think we're all excited about what this project is and what it's going to be and how our guests are going to experience it. And that day is almost here.
For me, the aha moment is always when I walk when I walked into the space and the tanks are set, like where they're going to be. And I'm like, okay, now I can see like how people are going to travel through the gallery, and I can see like the size of the tanks and the proportions and stuff. Because looking on blueprints and stuff like that, I can't really, it's harder for me to visualize in that way.
What do you want people's takeaway to be as they exit the gallery? What do you want them, what messaging do you want them to have, or what do you want them to be thinking or feeling as they walk out of the exhibit or gallery?
Well, for me, I want them to know what a scuttlebutt is.
Okay. Vocabulary lesson then.
Vocabulary, yes. And I just think a new appreciation for the spectacular and the wild and wonderful.
That's a great turn of phrase. I'm going to steal that.
Oh yeah, it's just I don't know. These animals are amazing, and to tell their story, and many times, Cheryl, they're misunderstood, and so those are some of the rumors that we're gonna set straight. And yeah, for me, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that they discover a new animal that they knew absolutely nothing about or didn't know existed, and like absolutely fall in love with it and are enthralled by it.
What is that animal for you?
Man, I don't know. I keep going back to the sea hares. I've known about them for a long time. My first encounter was on La Jolla Beach in California when I was in college. I found one in the tide pools and like just fell in love with them. Knew nothing about keeping them or keeping them in aquariums or anything like that. So
cool. Tom?
There's so many components to this that I absolutely love, but I think what's really important to me is that our guests have an experience that strikes them, and when they leave, they remember. That's I want them to remember the exhibit. I want them to remember, hey, I learned what a scuttlebutt is, or how big did you say those sea hares get?
about a kilogram. Or
a kilogram. That's 2.2 pounds. A 2.2 pound slimy blob slug thing actually thrives.
Way to sell it, Tom.
Yeah. Well, it is. Come look. If you don't believe me, come look at it. But if people can walk out and be like, that's something that I won't forget. Because I think inherent to that is the message. And the message is we need to make sure we're taking care of what we have. You know, we're consumers here too. And we're going to use things, but let's be responsible about it.
All right. Well, that ends this discussion, kind of an overview of the Scuttlebutt Reef Gallery. But as I said, we're going to have a couple more episodes that really kind of zoom in on some different facets of the gallery. So if you want to learn more about the live coral exhibit, the much larger live coral exhibit, next week we're going to dig into how we build a reef. That's a process all unto itself. So stay tuned. There's plenty more Scuttlebutt to be had. But for right now, we'll go ahead and end this overview episode of Scuttlebutt Reef, which again is opening on March 7th. At the time of recording, that's just about, as Tom said, 2.5 weeks away, which makes us all want to throw up in our mouths a little bit. But thank you to Tom Demas, to Jeff Worley, and to Cheryl Crossley for all of you coming back on the show to talk about this exciting new gallery, which we can finally pull back the curtain on and really just, I just want to ramp people's excitement up about it. And I think we did a good job of that today.
I think
Great.
so.
Yeah.
Rumor has it it's opening soon.
That's right.
If you have an idea for a future episode of the podcast Aquatic, please send that to me by email at podcast@tnaqua.org. While you're online, write us a review or leave us a rating if that's easier for you. Those are both free and simple ways to support the show, and they really do help us out with the algorithm, which makes sure that more people get the scuttlebutt on what the podcast Aquatic is all about. And in the meantime, until next time, remember that every drop matters.